This is my review of The Last Saiyuki, Chapter 1. I'm probably butchering that title, and if I am, someone in the comments, please tell me the proper way to pronounce it. Much appreciated. So, this is a new series, obviously Chapter 1, and opens up on a computer on YouTube playing a video titled Gaslight. Which, for those of you who don't know, to gaslight someone means to make them question their sanity, to make them think they're going insane, or to think the world around them is not what they thought it was. And based on what we've seen throughout this chapter, I think that's a fairly accurate description for what this video is going to do to people. If I had to just give my rough guess here on what little we've seen, this is some terrorist demon-worshipping group who have kidnapped Koharu and are going to try to make her use her powers to make everyone go crazy, face their fears, see demons walking the earth. So, like I said, Gaslight is an appropriate title here. We then move on to Ryu as he's walking up the stairs to the shrine where his family lives. And he remembers the day his mother caught a home run with her bare hands. That wasn't actually the surprising part to him. It was just that a home run was possible. But I admittedly do not know a lot about baseball, but I know even under the best circumstances, with a mitt, it is hard to catch one flying at you that fast. Which makes me wonder if maybe she has some powers, or if their whole family is blessed with super strength so that they can fight these demons, or whatever you want to call them, nightmares. Nightmare sounds appropriate. And surprisingly enough, I didn't actually realize on my first reading that his father was right next to them at the game, and later on when he's getting the baseball bat. I thought that was just like the guy that was selling it to them. He just seems so different from the man we're then introduced to, his father. Also, he's an eye patch, which makes you wonder if maybe he was fighting a nightmare before and that's how he lost his eye, and maybe how Ryu lost his mother. I mean, Koharu's lost her legs, her arms, her eyes, and her parents. I'm going to say that's almost certainly because of her ability and why she doesn't speak. She used to talk more, but then she let her words slip once, and that created a horrible monster that killed both her parents and crippled her for life. And then Ryu was told, no, you can't play baseball, and you can't go to school, and you're going to spend the rest of your life here. Sorry. Which feels just a little bit illegal. I mean, I know this isn't my country, so I don't know their laws or customs, and homeschooling is definitely a thing. But I'm pretty certain you can't just take your kid out of school. I mean, he clearly was hiding something about it, because he ended up telling his friends that he was overseas fighting a rare illness. So if you ever seen Inuyasha, you'll recognize that excuse, and surprisingly enough, it works for quite a while. But yes, Ryu's told no school, no baseball, no leaving the house, you're here forever, so look after this girl you've just met. Also, I'm going out tonight, so best of luck looking after her. Oh, and she doesn't talk, so she won't be able to tell you what she needs if she's starving or anything like that. Best of luck. So, that was certainly interesting. And she has to use the bathroom, and that's a whole nother journey with him blindfolded leading her in, having to help her with the whole process. He also begins hating himself quite a bit here. He's angry at his situation and blames Koharu, but knows he can't, so he just hates himself for being mad at her when it's definitely not her fault. Every time she looked at him apologetically, he just felt worse because he knew it wasn't her fault, but he still was mad at her. He still hated her for just being who she was. So then he abandons her for a day and goes out to play baseball. His three friends here do seem to all have very unique designs, so we're probably going to get to know them down the road, maybe have them named, maybe he'll bring them to the temple to meet Koharu, and we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, sneaking out had terrible consequences because he just left her there, and she had heat stroke because she wasn't able to turn on the fan or get in the shade or do anything like that. So then Father of the Year comes in again, and he decides, I'm going to lock you in this dark, dark room for 12 or so hours. Think about what you've done. Again, just great fathering. I mean, in a way it worked because he got him to sympathize with Koharu and realize how horrifying it is for her to be living alone in the dark and yet not complain once throughout this whole time. But at the same time, it made him fear a terrifying monster was about to eat him, which caused a terrifying monster to almost eat him. So, again, you are not a good father here. I'm sorry. So yeah, then he just goes crazy, sitting in the dark, thinking something's about to eat him, just panicking and screaming, and until Koharu saves him by literally bashing her head against the beam until the door opens. That's just dark. I mean, even for the series of a girl without arms or legs or eyes, that is freaking dark. And then she apologizes for being such a burden on him. And he feels even crappier about himself because he knew it wasn't her fault, and he now understands what it's been like for her alone and trapped in the dark all this time. So he tells her that he no longer hates her and promises that he'll never leave her alone. He'll be her light. He'll be the light to her like she made the light for him when she opened the door. And then things got even weirder. She started floating. Which, yes, all of her crazy monster summoning abilities aside, I have questions about that. Because if she can float in her sleep, can she float on command? I mean, can you just tie like a ribbon around her prosthetic leg and pull her around instead of having to carry her on his shoulders? Can she fly? I would very much like to know if she could fly, because then I wouldn't feel quite so bad about her not having any legs. Anyway, then a giant monster appears, and remembering his mother's words, he attacks it with a baseball bat, which, surprisingly enough, works, kinda. I have two theories on this. Either he overcame his fear and no longer had power over him, or he's got some kind of royal holy priest bloodline thing going on that gives him powers over these monsters. I'm not sure which right now, but his father is able to absolutely decimate this thing with a stick through a closed door. So maybe some combination of the two. Then Ryu's it's the full story. Well, not the full story, but part of the story. Basically, Koharu is a god, or one step away from a divine being. Which, again, so many questions. Does that mean her great-grandmother was a god? Does that mean she's possessed by a god? Or does that just mean she has weird magical powers for no real reason and they just decided to call her a divine being? Another interesting line, though, right there he says, "The fear you felt when you couldn't see was seen by Koharu." So she saw his fear. She can still see things. So when she's by someone, does she actually, does she just get, a vision in her head of the monster that he's seeing? Can she see through the eyes of other people? Again, just something I really want to know about as we move forward. Also, why don't they just kill Koharu? I know that sounds awful, that I'm advocating for them to murder a armless and legless and blind little girl, but she is freaking terrifying. She turns nightmares and fears into reality, and she could literally destroy the entire world. I theorized in the beginning that there was some group that was going to try and use her powers to rewrite reality and make a new world order. I'm going to say there's also probably going to be at least one or two groups who are going to try to do the opposite and just completely wipe her off the face of the earth. Ryu made the whole promise that he was going to protect her, so I can already tell it's going to cause a whole bunch of problems for him. And now he's given a new job. He basically has to make Koharu believe that humans are worth protecting. Make sure that she doesn't turn away from the path of good and decide that, maybe I should just kill a few million people. I think that would make things a lot better. And then the final panel. I brought Koharu here to love you. I have some questions on the exact translation for that, because I know there's a lot of different ways to write love in Japan. Is that I brought her here to be your sister so you two would love each other and she wouldn't destroy the world? Or is he saying, I brought her here to be your wife and so that she can continue the royal bloodline? Both interesting possibilities. I'm curious to see what they end up going with next week. So, yes, this was the last Saiyuki. Again, anyone can tell me the proper way to pronounce, I'd appreciate it. Definitely an interesting series, and I'm curious which way they're going to go with it. Are they going to have him and her just running away from various groups trying to use or kill her? Or is it going to be like a Monster of the Week thing where every week she accidentally releases a new monster and they have to work together to stop the source of the fear and save the person? I said earlier that I thought his childhood friends would end up showing up since they were so well defined and having since their character design was so well defined, but what role they might play is still unclear. It would certainly be interesting if they all end up getting superpowers, like think Bleach, where his and her royal bloodline just being around them causes them to start developing spiritual powers. But yeah. So this was Last Saiyuki, Chapter 1. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below, and I will see you all next week. Peace.